Could escalate after Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen said they have launched a second wave of missiles and drones against Israel. Well, the Houthis have in the past attacked shipping in the Red Sea, and there are fears they could target the Bab al-Mandab Strait, a vital global shipping route. Elsewhere, there have been attacks across the region, including one on a US military base in Saudi Arabia, injuring 12 American troops. This report from our World News correspondent, Joe Inwood.
It has become a familiar sight. Iranian Red Crescent rescue teams searching through the remains of shattered buildings. The US and Israel have launched thousands of strikes right across the country. They say they have all but destroyed Iran's military capabilities. But still, the regime fires back. Today they released this footage of what they said was their 85th wave of missiles. And this was Kuwait Airport after an apparent drone strike. Dragging US Gulf allies into the conflict has been a key part of Iran's strategy. And today, another front seems to have opened. Vast crowds took to the street in Yemen after the Houthis, allies of Iran, launched missiles at Israel.
We are preparing for a multi-front war, including with the Houthis. We know how to defend Israeli civilians, and as I said before, we act, we don't talk. Anyone who threatens Israeli civilians, we will strike them.
But there is a bigger concern, that the economic war deepens. Now, if the Houthis decide to start attacking shipping in the Red Sea, it could have far-reaching economic consequences. In order to avoid the Strait of Hormuz, Saudi Arabia is currently diverting around 4 million barrels of oil a day through a pipeline to Yanbu on the Red Sea coast. Now, that means the oil bound for the Asian market can then sail south in relative safety past Yemen. But that's not always been a safe route. For nearly 2 years, the Houthis attacked international shipping, damaging around 30 vessels. Now they say they could target commercial shipping again, making the Bab al-Mandab Strait a key flashpoint, blocking routes for Saudi oil in both directions, with huge implications for the global economy. This war is increasingly divisive in the US. Today, huge protests took place. But overnight, Donald Trump insisted it was a fight that needed to be had.
There was blackmail, period. Under my leadership, America is ending the threat posed by this radical regime.
There are diplomatic efforts to end the war. Pakistan has said it will host talks with Egypt and Turkey, a sign of just how widely the shockwaves are spreading. But both sides seem to be talking at cross purposes. The US has said Iran is defeated, essentially calling for their surrender, while the message coming from Tehran is equally uncompromising.
Trump and the commanders of the US Army must have clearly understood that the region will turn into a graveyard for American soldiers, and they will have no option but to surrender.
All the while,
to a graveyard for American soldiers, and they will have no option but to surrender.
All the while, the human cost of the war continues to grow. The Iranian Red Crescent released this footage following what they said was an Israeli strike. The US has said this could all be over in weeks. How that will happen is far from clear. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, live now to our correspondent James Waterhouse, who's in Jerusalem for us now. And James, to what extent do you think the Houthi attack on Israel is an escalation of the war in Iran?
Well, Ben, the footprint of this already vast war is widening further. Now, it was always likely that should Iran have asked the Houthis for help, they would have said yes because of their long-standing relationship, because of the military and financial aid the Houthis. Now, it was always likely that should Iran have asked the Houthis for help, they would have said yes because of their long-standing relationship, because of the military and financial aid the Houthis had received from Iran. We have had 2 reported missile strikes or attempted missile strikes today. Israel's air defences aren't usually too troubled by missiles launched from the south, but of course it's also having to defend against salvo after salvo of Iranian missiles, which make their way over, and today has been no exception. And so when you think about America's claim or wish that this war will be over in weeks rather than months, when you consider Israel's own widening offensive in southern Lebanon, where 1,100 civilians have been killed and counting, there's very little sign here in Israel that the war is winding down in any way.
All right, James, thank you very much indeed. 3 Lebanese journalists have been killed in a targeted Israeli airstrike on their press vehicle in southern Lebanon. Among those killed was a well-known correspondent for Al-Manar TV, a station affiliated to the Iranian-backed Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. The Israeli army claim he was a Hezbollah member who had been exposing Israeli military positions without providing evidence. Well, also today, a funeral was held for a boy who was among 5 people killed in 2 airstrikes in a town in southern Lebanon yesterday. And from there, our Middle East correspondent Hugo Bashega sent us this report.
This war is destroying not only Lebanon's present, it is also taking away part of its future. This was the funeral today for Jawad Yunis, killed in an Israeli airstrike as he played football with his cousins. He was 11. His mother was devastated. As he played football with his cousins. He was 11. His mother was devastated.
My son is gentle and pure. He loved the idea of martyrdom, and when he grew up, he wanted to be with the resistance. He wanted to resist the enemy Israel, who killed him.
Israeli bombs have pounded towns and villages across Lebanon. In the south, Israeli troops are pushing ahead with their invasion. Israel says it is targeting Hezbollah, which has continued to launch attacks against Israel. But here, often, it's civilians who were killed.
This is the location that was hit, and the scale of the destruction gives us an idea of the power of the attack. This house has been completely destroyed. There's a lot of damage in this building on this side. And people here say that this attack happened at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and that it came with no warning. And this is the fear that many have across this country of not knowing when and where the next Israeli attack will hit.
The Israeli military is yet to explain why it attacked this building. Lebanese officials say more than 120 children have been killed by Israeli attacks in this war, with hundreds more wounded. Lebanese officials say more than 120 children have been killed by Israeli attacks in this war, with hundreds more wounded.
And then my back.
Jawad's aunt, Zainab, survived the attack.
1 hour later, I have
She has a broken spine and fractured leg, but doctors believe she will fully recover.
Had you ever imagined my back?
Jawad's aunt, Zainab, survived the attack.
1 hour later, I have
She has a broken spine and fractured leg, but doctors believe she will fully recover.
Had you ever imagined that something like this could happen to you?
No, at all. There's nothing for Israel to bomb us, because I'm sitting with my husband and with my children.
We're playing football with me and my cousins, and then Israel do this thing.
Israel and Hezbollah are vowing to keep on fighting, and more innocent children will be lost to a war they're too young to understand. Israel and Hezbollah are vowing to keep on fighting, and more innocent children will be lost to a war they're too young to understand.
500,000 people on this demonstration, the biggest demonstration ever against the far right, and it gives us all confidence to carry on. Thank you very much. crowd. I see unity. I see solidarity. I see love. I see we are together. Look around. I mean it. Look around. Look at the people around you. We are intergenerational. We are white. We are black. We are Asian. We are Muslim. We are Christian. We are Jewish. We are non-faith. We are community. And together, we will win. The tide is turning. There have been dark times. I know people have been scared and we have been afraid. But days like this are here to send a message. A message to Tommy Robinson, to Nigel Farage, to those who appease them. The message is, when we turn up in our hundreds, in our thousands, in our hundreds of thousands, we are unstoppable. We see what's happening in the United States. We see children snatched in the streets. We see people shot in cold blood. We see the warmongering. And the right, the far right, they see that as their blueprint. But people in this country have seen reform for who they really are. They would have dragged us into this illegal and unpopular war. And we say today, this is not in our name. This is not our war. And looking out today, I see so many flags and so many slogans. I know we are here for our migrant communities, for our trans communities, for the Palestinians. Our struggles are interconnected and we stand in solidarity. There's three things we have to do. Number one, we must not give an inch to the Daily Mail, to the right-wing hacks, to the people who spread hate and division. We will defeat you. Second, we say to reform, we know exactly who you are. You are climate-denying, Trump-loving, NHS dismantling, corporate stooges. And finally, we have to tackle the cost of living. It is time to lower people's bills. It is time to tax billionaires, nationalise the water companies, rent controls, make sure we have the energy cap so people aren't choosing between heating and eating. But more than anything, today is a march, and it does not stop here. This is just the beginning. Go back to your communities, to the community centres, to your trade unions, to your friends, to your neighbours. We must organise in our communities. Local elections are coming in just a few weeks' time. We will defeat hate. It's time to make hope normal again. Thank you! Today, in this crowd, we can have hope. We can have hope. We can have hope in the goodwill that has brought together the Together Alliance. We can have the hope and the belief that the great majority of people in this country do not want to see racist violence on our streets. The majority want us to live together as brothers and sisters, to live together, black, white, brown, Muslim, Christian, Jew. We want to live together, and that's the majority. The Together Alliance represents that majority. Our estimate is now that there are 500,000 people on this demonstration, the biggest demonstration ever against the far right, and it gives us all confidence to carry on. Thank you very much.
Also, remember, when the Tories were using posters saying, if you want a college for a neighbour, vote Labour. Yes, yes. But we also remember the rise of the National Front, and we fought against the National Front back in those days. And then we get votes for policies which were promising to force repatriation on the people from the Caribbean. And then we had the rise of the BNP in the 80s and the 90s. And then we had the Spivs and the millionaires in UKIP. And then, now, we've got reform. And, of course, they're full of Tories with the same toxic policies that UKIP had and the NF promise of forced repatriation, which is what Theresa May did in her government. Exactly. And anyway, over the years, obviously, we've visited all kinds of places, from America, Australia, Africa. We've been to all those places and performed. And one thing that we've come to the conclusion of is that working people around the world have more in common with each other than they do with their elites and the billionaire class. Thank you.
Press your button, not your feet. With the Ultra Fit. More room for your toes. Ultra. Stay out there.
People keep asking if this is a scam, so I'm going to prove it's not with actual science.
Common with each other than they do with their elites and the billionaire class. Thank you.
We are here in unprecedented numbers to say to the racists and the fascists that you shall not pass. And we are here to say to politicians in all parties that you shouldn't be trying here to say to politicians in all parties that you shouldn't be trying to copy reform. You here to say unprecedented numbers.
Thank you.
We are here in unprecedented numbers to say to the racists and the fascists that you shall not pass. And we are here to say to politicians in all parties that you shouldn't be trying to copy reform, you should be trying to challenge them. We shouldn't be pandering to reform. We shouldn't let Nigel Farage set the agenda. We are a better country than this. We are not people that want to blame immigrants and asylum seekers for poor housing, for poverty, for difficulties. We know who causes difficulties and oppression in this society. It is the billionaires. It is the millionaires. It is not immigrants and asylum seekers. The struggle has to continue. The struggle isn't over, but by coming out in these incredible numbers, we are showing the racists and the far right that we are here to challenge them. Our message is not the message of Nigel Farage or the right-wing press. Our message is refugees are welcome here.
We welcome both the principle and content of that motion, and we will deliver on it as soon as we can. As such, government departments have been instructed to return any material which may be relevant, and work is underway to identify documents which fall within the scope of the motion. We will do so as soon as possible.
Energy is growth. Without it, our country dies. We need to get Britain working again. And we need a serious energy policy. Labour's approach is killing jobs. It's making people's bills go sky high. Manufacturing is disappearing from the country. So we have a cheap power plan. It's going to fuel Britannia, get Britain working again. And what's in it is scrapping the green taxes on our household bills. Those taxes are just making everything worse. Stopping the fuel duty rise that Labour's planning. This is not the time to be increasing fuel duty. And we need to drill our own oil and gas in the North Sea instead of importing it from Norway, who are drilling in the very same sea.
One of the major news stories at the minute is the fact that the ban is 40 for stuff on that's kind of stolen. Your party seems to be raising my power questions about this. What exactly are you suggesting there?
Well, we are all raising eyebrows at this story. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff is someone who has access to a lot of information. The fact that the police transcript says that he made a report and didn't tell them who he was. I mean, who could anyone could have stolen that phone? Could have been China, could have been Russia. I think there are a lot of questions that need answering. And what we need is for Morgan McSweeney and, let's be frank, Keir Starmer to come clean about what happened and why this report was not escalated to the security services.
Just one question. Do you think there's been wrongdoing here?
Well, we don't know. The story doesn't add up. It is very suspicious that the phone got stolen after I asked about Peter Mandelson and he'd been sacked. It was very clear that a lot of documents were going to come out. So that's what makes it suspicious. If they want to quell the suspicion, they need to come clean and answer a lot of questions.
We're talking about fuel, one of the reasons why fuel was previously used to support Ukraine, now the conflict in Iran. British intelligence has shown that Russia has been aiding Iran in the current conflict. Do you think Russia or Iran are threats?
Russia and Iran are both threats. The security services can tell us which one is the bigger threat. But this is why I want a government that is clear-eyed about the threats that are facing our country. When the Conservative government had COVID or the war in Ukraine, we had done a lot of work to make sure the economy was in a good place so we could spend the money where it was needed. Labour has not done any of that work. Instead, they've been splurging on benefits, giving money to their pet causes, their pet projects, and now we are the worst place in the G7 to weather an energy crisis.
Yeah, talking about Russia and Iran. No British forces are in advanced preparations to board and detain ships in Russia's so-called shadow fleet. You also saw how many agents to get to Cyprus because of the conflict. What do you make of the readiness of Canadian and British defence in general?
I'm very concerned that this is a government that has not thought about defence and is only looking at things in hindsight. We need to increase defence spending. It went down every year between 1989 and 2022 because various governments believed there was peace in the world. Once that changed, the Conservatives started spending more money on defence. We need to spend even more. This government doesn't have a plan. And the fact that it took HMS Dragon 3 weeks to get to its destination shows that they are thinking too late, they are too slow to act. They need to do better to protect British servicemen and women who are in bases that we have put in other people's countries.
Last time I spoke to you, you talked about social media ban for those. But again, you have the US court case overnight. Will that change your position on how we regulate social media?
The US court case actually reinforces my position on a social media ban for under-16s. Social media is no longer new technology. We've now had time to observe its effects. We've seen a whole generation of young people go through it, and what we've seen is increased anxiety, increased depression. These platforms are designed to be addictive, and I don't think that these big tech companies should be profiting off our children's mental health.
Your office apps not working.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. It is time to fuel Britannia. Labour's approach is killing jobs, it's killing manufacturing, it's killing industry, and it is impoverishing households, families, and businesses up and down the country. Energy is growth. Without it, we are nothing. Why are we fueling Britannia? Because we need to make sure that we can get Britain working again. Yesterday, we all heard the Prime Minister tell us that he's not in charge of the country, that actually it's Ed Miliband who's running things. I think that's wrong. This is not about whether we should use renewables or not use renewables. This is about making sure we use our own resources. At a time when there is an energy crisis, we need a government that can get Britain working again, and Labour is not it. They will try and pretend that all the problems have started because of the war. That's not true. We have been telling them to do this for nearly 2 years. And who is hurting? It's families who are struggling to pay their bills. They don't know that those bills are being high because of Ed Miliband's green taxes. It's van drivers who are running around the country trying to get things working again. And what's Rachel Rees planning to do? Increase fuel duty. We have a brilliant industry, North Sea oil and gas, that is dying because of Labour. And we're here to say enough. We want people to thrive in this country. So we have a cheap power plan for them. It's going to scrap the crazy green taxes which Ed Miliband has put on everyone's household bills. It's going to stop the rise in fuel duty, and it's going to make sure that we drill our own oil and gas in the North Sea. It is completely crazy that Keir Starmer has stopped British companies from drilling in the North Sea while he is importing gas from Norway, who are drilling in the very same basin. This is madness. We need to put everything out there. We need nuclear, we need renewables, we need oil, we need gas, we need wind. But what's he doing? He's pretending that oil and gas are bad. I'm saying now that we can bring everyone's energy bills down by 20% with our cheap power plan. It is time to fuel Britannia. It is time to scrap the silly tax rise which Rachel Rees is putting on fuel duty. It is time to get Britain working again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And then I wonder if we do one on the side, guys. Looking, yeah, one please go back in the out the door. Yeah, we do that as well.
So I'm curious about your phone calls with him, how easy they might be. And also, are you surprised by...
Are we talking about Starmer?
Yes. Are you surprised by how...
I think he's a lovely man. I do. I think he's a lovely man, but I think he did something that was shocking. He didn't want to help us. And maybe in particular that country, you know, we were the longest bond, the longest ally. Australia too. Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia. I wouldn't say anybody was great, other than the 5 countries in the Middle East. We never really had very much support. You know, we spend trillions of dollars supporting countries, and this isn't the big league deal. This is sort of little league ball for us. This was like we decimated them in a period of a week. In the first week it was over. In the first few days it was over. I think the Navy took us 3 days to essentially annihilate it. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country, because we spent. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country, because we spent trillions of dollars protecting Europe, protecting the countries of NATO. They weren't there for us. For small time. This is small time. You know what? Venezuela's a big deal, but it's not the big one. They weren't there. So what makes you think they'd be there if we needed them for something? And your Prime Minister was not there, as you know. He was there after we won. He said, we'd like to send some ships. I said, we already won. You don't need them anymore.
Can you explain why he was reluctant to help?
Why what?
Why he was reluctant to help with Iran?
He didn't have to. I didn't ask him. I just said, just tell me, you know. I mean, we're always going to be there. At least we were. I don't know about anymore, to be honest with you. I have to be honest. We were always there when they needed help. We always would have been there when they needed help. I mean, think of it. We're there to protect Europe from Russia. In theory, it doesn't affect us. We have an ocean, big, fat, beautiful ocean. But we're there to protect NATO, to protect them from Russia. But they're not there to protect us. It doesn't make sense. I tell you, a lot of people were big NATO people. I was never big. It was okay. I got them to pay 5%. By the way, they haven't paid it yet. You know that. I got them to pay 5% from 2% to 5%. They didn't pay it yet. I got them to pay up to 2% because they weren't paying the 2%. Then I got them to pay 5%, which they should be at. And we had a lot of, that was great, only Trump could do it. The problem is they haven't paid. Because if you look at the numbers, they haven't paid yet. So we were there for them. If they were not there for us, did we need them? No. I never thought we needed them. I was more doing a test. I said, I really would love to have you come up. Bring your boats. You can sail through the beautiful Hormuz Straits, and you can protect people that are being shot at. They didn't do it. And that's small potatoes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Explore Sunday hotels on the OYO website.